Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a couple who longed for a child. After many years, their wish was granted, and the wife became pregnant. They lived next to a beautiful garden owned by a powerful enchantress named Mother Gothel. This garden was filled with all sorts of wonderful plants and flowers, but it was surrounded by high walls. One day, the wife saw some rampion, a type of leafy plant, in the garden and craved it desperately. She begged her husband to get some for her. The husband, loving his wife dearly, climbed over the wall and stole some rampion. He was relieved when his wife ate the rampion and seemed content. But soon, she craved more, and the husband had no choice but to return to the garden. As he gathered more rampion, the enchantress Mother Gothel appeared. She was furious at his theft but softened when the man explained his wife's craving. She agreed to let him go with the rampion on one condition. When the child was born, the couple had to give it to her. The man, terrified and desperate, agreed. When the baby girl was born, the enchantress took her away and named her Rapunzel, after the rampion plant. Mother Gothel raised Rapunzel in a tall tower hidden deep in the forest. The tower had no doors or stairs, only a single window at the very top. As Rapunzel grew, so did her golden hair, which eventually became incredibly long. Mother Gothel would visit the tower by calling out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel would then let her long braid down through the window, and Mother Gothel would climb up. Years passed, and Rapunzel became a beautiful young woman. She was lonely, having no company except for Mother Gothel. One day, a prince was riding through the forest when he heard Rapunzel singing. Her voice was so lovely that he followed it until he found the tower. He watched as Mother Gothel called for Rapunzel to let down her hair and realized how he could reach her. The next day, after Mother Gothel left, the prince called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Thinking it was Mother Gothel, Rapunzel let her hair down, and the prince climbed up. They were both surprised to see each other, but the prince was kind, and they quickly became friends. The prince visited Rapunzel every day, and soon they fell in love. They planned to escape the tower and be married. However, one day, Rapunzel accidentally mentioned the prince to Mother Gothel. Furious, Mother Gothel cut off Rapunzel's hair and banished her to a desolate desert. When the prince came that evening, Mother Gothel let down the cut braid. When he reached the top, she revealed what she had done and pushed him from the tower. He fell into a bed of thorns that blinded him. Heartbroken and blind, the prince wandered for years, searching for Rapunzel. At last, he heard her singing and followed the sound until he found her. Rapunzel cried tears of joy, and her tears fell on his eyes, miraculously healing them. The prince could see again, and they returned to his kingdom, where they lived happily ever after. Title: The Princess Who Never Smiled. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there was a beautiful princess named Isabella. Princess Isabella was known throughout the land for her grace, intelligence, and kindness. But despite her many wonderful qualities, there was one thing that everyone noticed: she never smiled. The people of the kingdom whispered about the princess's solemn face. Why doesn't she smile? They wondered. Some thought it was a sign of sadness, while others believed she was too serious to enjoy life. But Princess Isabella had a secret. She wanted to smile, but she didn't know how. One sunny day, a traveling jester named Jax came to the kingdom. He was famous for making people laugh with his funny tricks and silly jokes. The moment he arrived, the kingdom's mood brightened, and laughter filled the air. The jester's antics brought joy to everyone, except for Princess Isabella, who remained as serious as ever. The royal family, concerned about their daughter's lack of joy, invited Jax to the palace. "Please, Jax," said the king, "try to make our daughter smile." Jax agreed and set to work. He performed his best tricks, juggling flaming torches, balancing on a tightrope, and even making animals dance. The court laughed and clapped, but Princess Isabella's face remained unchanged. Jax, not one to give up easily, decided to try something different. Instead of performing, he sat down and began to tell a story. It was a story about a brave knight who went on an adventure to find the rarest of treasures, the heart of laughter. The knight faced many challenges, but he never gave up because he knew that the heart of laughter had the power to make the world a brighter place. As Jax told the story, Isabella listened intently. She had never heard a story quite like this one. The tale of the brave knight and his quest touched her heart. She imagined herself as the knight, embarking on a journey to find her own heart of laughter. Inspired by the story, Isabella decided to take a walk in the palace gardens. She noticed the vibrant flowers, the playful butterflies, and the cheerful songs of the birds. She saw her reflection in a pond and realized how much beauty surrounded her. Gradually, a small, warm feeling started to grow inside her. It was as if the heart of laughter Jax had spoken of was awakening within her. She felt a tickle in her heart and, for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to smile. It was a gentle, radiant smile that seemed to light up the entire garden. When Jax saw the princess smile, he was overjoyed. The entire kingdom celebrated the princess's newfound happiness. From that day on, Isabella smiled more often, and her smile became a symbol of the joy and warmth that filled the kingdom. The story of the princess who never smiled but found her own heart of laughter became a beloved tale. It reminded everyone that sometimes finding happiness takes time and a little help from those who care. And so, Princess Isabella lived happily ever after, with a smile that brightened not only her own life, but the lives of everyone around her. Title: The Princess and the Magical Feather. Once upon a time, there was a princess living in a castle. The princess was called Evelyn. She loved to play with dolls and pillow fights. One day she wanted to play with her sisters, Isabella and Suzanne, but that day they were punished. Her parents claimed Evelyn that she could play with her sisters the next day, but the next morning, her sisters had to travel urgently and it will take them a month to come back. After 2 weeks, a new family moved into her neighborhood. They went to welcome them, and Evelyn became friend of the girl living beside them, called Jasmine. One day, they were having a pillow fight when suddenly a blue feather came out of one of the pillows. They shaked it and brilliant sparks appeared. Jasmine said, "Evelyn, it seems to be a magic feather. Dash, where can we check if it's magic or not?" "Dash, over that flower," said Jasmine, pointing to a withered flower. They approached the flower. Evelyn shaked the feather, aiming the flower, and suddenly, the flower began to raise. The leaves became beautiful. It was the most beautiful flower they had ever seen. Isabella and Suzanne came after a month. Evelyn and Jasmine told them absolutely everything, and they all became best friends after a few weeks, known as nature stars. Title: The Tale of the Three Little Princesses. Once upon a time, in the heart of a vast and enchanted kingdom, there lived three little princesses, Ava, Bella, and Clara. Each princess was unique and brought joy to the kingdom in her own special way. Princess Ava, the eldest, was known for her wisdom and kindness. She spent her days reading books and learning about the world beyond the castle walls. Ava loved sharing her knowledge with others and often helped the villagers with advice and solutions to their problems. Princess Bella, the middle sister, was full of creativity and imagination. She had a talent for painting and music, and her art brought color and happiness to the kingdom. Bella's melodies and paintings were admired by all, and she often organized festivals where everyone could enjoy her beautiful creations. Princess Clara, the youngest, was adventurous and brave. She loved exploring the forests and hills surrounding the castle, always seeking new adventures. Clara had a special bond with animals and could often be found talking to the birds, deer, and other creatures that inhabited the kingdom. One day, news arrived at the castle that a terrible drought had struck the farthest regions of the kingdom. The rivers had dried up, crops were failing, and the people were suffering. The three little princesses knew they had to do something to help their people. Princess Ava, with her wisdom, suggested that they seek out the legendary Crystal Spring, a magical source of water said to be hidden deep within the enchanted forest. It was rumored that the spring could end any drought and bring life back to the land. Determined to find it, the princesses set off on their journey together. As they ventured into the forest, each princess's unique talents came into play. Ava used her knowledge to decipher ancient maps and guide them through the dense woods. Bella's creativity helped them find food and create shelters along the way, as she turned ordinary leaves and branches into comfortable resting places. Clara's bravery and bond with animals provided protection, as she could communicate with the forest creatures who warned them of dangers and led them to safe paths. After several days of traveling, they finally reached the heart of the enchanted forest, where the Crystal Spring was said to be located. However, the spring was guarded by a powerful enchantress who tested anyone who sought its waters. The enchantress presented the princesses with 3 challenges, each tailored to their strengths. Ava was asked to solve a complex riddle, which she did with ease, using her wisdom. Bella had to create a masterpiece that captured the essence of hope, and she painted a beautiful mural that moved the enchantress to tears. Clara had to face her fears and rescue a trapped forest creature from a dangerous situation, which she did with great courage. Impressed by their skills and unity, the enchantress granted them access to the Crystal Spring. The princesses filled their flasks with the magical water and hurried back to their kingdom. Upon their return, they poured the water into the dried-up rivers and fields, and soon the land began to flourish once more. The rivers flowed, crops grew, and the people rejoiced. The kingdom celebrated the bravery, creativity, and wisdom of the 3 little princesses. Ava, Bella, and Clara had proven that by working together and using their unique gifts, they could overcome any challenge. Their tale became a cherished legend, reminding everyone of the power of unity, courage, and kindness. And so, the 3 little princesses continued to bring joy and prosperity to their kingdom, living happily ever after. Title: The Princess Chocolate. Once upon a time, In a kingdom far away, there lived a beautiful princess named Isabella, who was affectionately known as Princess Chocolate. She earned this name because of her deep love for chocolate, which was as legendary as her kindness and beauty. In the kingdom of Sweetonia, chocolate was not just a treat but a way of life, and Isabella's passion for it brought joy to all the people. The kingdom was surrounded by fields of cocoa trees, and the air was always filled with the sweet aroma of chocolate. The people of Sweetonia were expert chocolatiers, and their creations were known far and wide. Princess Chocolate would often visit the chocolatiers, learning their craft and creating her own delightful confections, which she would share with everyone in the kingdom. One day, as Isabella was experimenting with a new recipe, a mysterious traveler arrived at the castle. He was a tall, enigmatic man with silver hair and eyes that sparkled like the stars. He introduced himself as Count Dark, a traveler from a distant land. He had heard of Sweetonia's fame and had come to taste its legendary chocolate. Isabella welcomed him warmly and offered him her latest creation, a rich, velvety chocolate infused with the rarest spices. Count Dark tasted it, and for a moment, a shadow passed over his face. He smiled, but there was something cold in his eyes that made Isabella uneasy. That night, a terrible storm hit the kingdom, and by morning, the fields of cocoa trees had withered, and the rivers of chocolate had turned bitter. The once vibrant Sweetonia was plunged into darkness, and the people were devastated. The chocolatiers tried everything to restore their beloved chocolate, but nothing worked. Isabella was heartbroken, but she refused to give up. She remembered the strange reaction of Count Dark and suspected that he had something to do with the calamity. Determined to save her kingdom, she set out on a journey to find him. After days of searching, she found Count Dark in a cave deep in the mountains. He revealed that he had cast a spell on the kingdom because he was envious of its happiness and wanted to bring darkness to Sweetonia. But as he saw Isabella's determination, something in his heart began to change. Isabella, sensing his inner conflict, offered him a piece of the chocolate she had made from the last remnants of the cocoa beans. She spoke of the joy and love that chocolate brought to her people and how it symbolized the sweetness of life. Count Dark hesitated but eventually took a bite. As he did, the bitterness in his heart melted away, and he realized the error of his ways. He lifted the curse, and the kingdom was restored to its former glory. In gratitude, Count Dark gifted Princess Chocolate a rare cocoa bean that would never wither, ensuring that Sweetonia's chocolate would forever remain the best in the world. Princess Isabella returned to her people, and Sweetonia once again thrived, with its rivers of chocolate flowing sweeter than ever. And so, Princess Chocolate and her kingdom lived happily ever after, sharing their love of chocolate with the world. Title: The Princess and the Faithful Knight. Long, long ago, there lived a beautiful princess who was praised by everyone for her beauty. She was also a kind-hearted young girl and was raised to be a fair and just ruler. One bright sunny day, a prince arrives at her palace, meets her, and eventually they fall in love. One night, the prince takes the princess to a shady grassland at the edge of the woods. He says if the princess truly loves him, she must pick a rare flower called the scarlet rose for him. She tries hard to find the flower as she wants to prove her love for the prince. Finally, She finds the scarlet rose. But as soon as the princess touches the flower, she falls asleep. The cunning prince steals all the jewelry and riches of the princess and leaves her alone in the deep woods. The king gets worried about his daughter and sends his army to find the princess. The soldiers return disappointed. Many months later, the princess is found lying unconscious in the deep meadow. She is taken back to the castle. The advisors discover that the princess touched a scarlet rose and cannot be woken up. Therefore, they suggest the king let the venom run its course. The king declares that anyone who is desirous of marrying the princess must prove their faithfulness by waiting by her bedside until she awakens. Many suitors turn up hoping to marry the beautiful princess when she wakes up. But time passes by and the weary men leave one after the other. But one hopeful knight truly waits beside the princesses for her to wake up. One fine day, the princess wakes up and finds the knight kneeling. He narrates the entire story of her falling asleep. The princess is moved to tears, and the king is overjoyed. The king announces the wedding and a grand celebration takes place in the kingdom.